Welcome to Black Woman Leading the Podcast. I'm Laura Nice, your host and the founder of BlackWomanLeading.com. Today we are talking about cultivating a growth mindset with Dr. Sam March. Now, if you've been wanting to gain a deeper meaning for how you can strengthen your own growth mindset, if you've been desiring to create more harmony across the different facets of your life, and if you want to gain more mastery over your emotional triggers so you can control them and they don't control you, you need to keep listening. Let's get into it.
Black woman leading. Black woman leading.
This podcast amplifies the needs and experiences of Black women leaders in the workplace with a holistic focus on 3 core areas: leadership development, mental wellness, and relationship management. Our ultimate aim is to help Black women learn, heal, and grow in their leadership capacity.
Hi, everybody. Today we're talking about cultivating a growth mindset with Dr. Sam March. Hey, Dr. Sam, welcome.
Hi. Hey, Laura.
So excited to have you today.
Lovely to be here.
So I'm excited to jump into this topic today, but first, let me give you the official about Dr. Sam. Dr. Sam is a chiropractor and wellness strategist with a passion for whole person healing. Blending clinical expertise with personal experience, she helps others reconnect body, mind, heart, and soul. Through her work at Lignum Vitae Wellness and her new book, Harmonize Your Life, that we're talking about today, Dr. Sam guides readers to move beyond physical adjustments and find true inner harmony, the kind that brings lasting peace and alignment both on and off the table. When she's not serving patients or sharing her message, she enjoys exploring the world and cherishing time with her family. So I always like to say how I met my guest. I got to shout out Dr. Twyla.
Yes.
If you all have been listening to the podcast, if they've been listening for any amount of time, I have shouted out Dr. Twyla a few times because my chiropractor is part of my wellness team.
Of course.
So clearly her and Dr. Sam are colleagues.
Yes.
She introduced us. I got to do some work with Dr. Sam. We had a strategy day and talking about this brilliant book, actually, and the amazing work she's doing with it. And since then, we've, had some touch points. So I said I had to have her on the podcast talking about this.
Yes,
And
indeed.
it's powerful because I feel like it hasn't quite been a year, but I feel like when we were doing the strategy day, this was not in its form like this.
Not at all.
So I got to shout you out because, we view our guests as possibility models. And there's somebody listening right now who has a half-written book, self. Somebody talking that has a half-written book. And so it's always beautiful to see dreams come to fruition. And this is what we're talking about today.
It is.
Let's jump into it. Before we get into this growth mindset, I always like to ask my guests, tell me what the phrase Black Woman Leading means to you.
Okay.
And just a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you get here to this book and the stuff that you're doing right now?
So Black Woman Leading embodies Black girl magic to me, which means that it's a woman who is really acknowledging her strength as that, not as a form of weakness, but a form of beauty. One that is filled with self-compassion, willing to learn, vulnerable, loving in her approach in the things that she does, but not willing to sacrifice her ambition because she knows that that is a part of what makes her beauty shine.
Yeah.
And so when she leads in spaces, she leads with her feminine energy, with a harmonic understanding that it is her strength, not her weakness.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Now,
Definitely.
Tell us how we get to harmonize your life. Like, what's the journey here? You're like, how much time you get?
Listen, I was like, the story is the book plus times 10.
Exactly.
So realistically, it's been one of just lots of struggle, failure, trauma. It was filled with success. I grew up in Jamaica.
Okay.
I moved to the U.S. when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Brand new environment. In Miami specifically. And then when I shifted to Georgia, it was for chiropractic school.
Okay.
And I've stayed here ever since. And that was about 14, 15 years ago. So it was quite a bit of time ago. And in that time frame, I got married, I got divorced, and had 2 children, and now I'm engaged and about to get married in a couple of months.
A whole lifetime.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I say it's been filled with a lot of living.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
But it's also been filled with a lot of beauty amongst the pain.
Yeah.
I never thought I would get divorced. And that happened at a time where the world was ending. It was COVID. It just happened, gave birth. And so for that entire 2020, it was such a dramatic shift that by time I had my second child in 2022, my world was just so shattered. It was so desolate.
Wow.
That I knew I needed help. And I sought my friends who, from the Relaxed Hustle, as I shout them out, Sky and Rain, phenomenal leaders. And they host several different ways of helping leaders to get back into a more holistic sense of being. And that was the beginning for me at a retreat in Jamaica, where I started to understand how I was showing up in the world and where there was an out of sync lifestyle and where I was out of alignment with my own beliefs in the way that I was living, from how I was treating my body physically with my physical wellness to how I was thinking.
Wow.
It was so broken.
Wow.
And it really started the shift for me to understand that feedback was truly a gift. It is a gift that keeps on giving, and it creates a growth mindset and fosters and anchors us to a sense of harmony so much deeper than anything else can.
Yeah.
And from there, it took lots of therapy, lots of money,
We here for
several
it.
committed courses that just continue to evolve into where I am today. Because having a growth mindset is something that I truly anchor deeply to, because that's the core of who I am. I'm a learner.
Yeah.
So I will always be open to that. You know?
So you said, baby, I didn't just write the book. I lived this thing. Okay?
Lived it. This book came out of lived experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I really want to get into this because I think, so often we hear about, I'm in the leadership development space, and we hear so often about growth mindset, but like, what is it? And what does it look like in our day-to-day life, which is what I want to get into. But you birthed this book, Harmonize Your Life. And I want to get into this 6 C's of harmony. Now, we're focusing on one today with the cultivating the growth mindset. But it's so good when you just think about the journey through them that I do want to just call it out. Okay? So I'm going to just call it out. And I want you to just give us a high level of why this combination, right, of 6 C's. So here we go. This is your Harmonize method. 6 C's of harmony. Cultivate a growth mindset, which is our focus for today. Connect with your emotions. Care for your physical well-being. Channel positive energy. Celebrate life's abundance, and create meaningful connections. And so this is a ecosystem, if you will. But why this 6? Like, what was your inspiration for that?
I felt like one led to the other, to the other, to the other.
Yeah.
When you have a growth mindset as a place to start, before you can even get into having a growth mindset, you have to start with self-awareness, which is one of the chapters in the book. Because when we are becoming more aware of who we are and where we desire to be and why, it just sets the tone of being able to then specifically seek out the things that can help you to grow, right? And then when you have that growth mindset, then you can start to see life differently and live and experience it differently, which then leads to things like celebrating abundance and creating meaningful connections towards the end of that framework. The possibilities open up, but there isn't one thing without the other. So there's no way to truly embody an emotionally intelligent, healthy way of being without you also embodying a physical being that's much healthier. And, as a chiropractor for 11 years and counting, I know that the trauma that we go through, it lives in the body. It shows up in meaningful, tangible, specific disease patterns in our cells. And so if we can purge those, right, to even get to that point of desiring to address the physical body, we have to have a growth mindset. So they all interplayed with each other, and it really strengthens the understanding that we are not broken. We are capable beings. we just need a little help sometimes to understand how to approach that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So many of us are taught to chase balance,
Yes.
work-life balance. We think about balance, right? But you instead really use language and advocate for harmony
Yes.
instead. So can you explain the difference between that from your vantage point?
Oh, yeah. I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
So balance just felt very strict, rigid, very walled approach. And it definitely appeared more of a fixed mindset viewpoint versus one that was cultivating growth.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is when you're thinking about balance, I think about math. 1 plus
Yeah,
1
the
is
weigh-
2.
weighing the
weighing
scales.
of the
Yeah,
scales,
yeah.
right? And that equates to then judgment. What happens when your vision of A equating to B does not look just like that,
Yeah.
right? It can disrupt your entire life and the way
Yeah.
you think and the way
Yeah.
you are. And sometimes B is so much better than you could have created it, you know?
Yeah.
But we are not able to see it because it's not exactly that way. Versus harmony. Harmony, think of music. And we reference that a lot in the book. Harmony is about melodic scales, right? We think about the reality that we have to ebb and flow through life.
Yeah.
We think about adaptability. One of my nicknames in business is chameleon because I'm exceptionally adaptable,
Yeah.
right? That's thankfully how my brain works. But teaching others to do the same with my clients is important to them because we can have a very rigid mindset when we're constantly chasing this work-life balance that looks like perfection versus harmony means that in this moment, maybe for this season, I'm now focusing and prioritizing my health in this next 3-month 2-quarter cycle.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's instead, I'm really hyper-focused on the vision of where I want my business to be and grow into a 7-figure state, but knowing that I can only do that with now offsetting
I see.
the chase,
Yeah,
right?
something has got to
Something has to give,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Maybe I have 80% to give towards this and 20% to give towards that, and I now release the judgment of not being able to show up and give 100% to everything.
Yeah.
And that's what harmony looks like.
Yeah, and I love like this that you amplified the seasons, right? Because different seasons of life is going to require something different, right?
Yeah.
And that the fluidity that you kind of talk about with the harmony vantage point makes space, right, for us to change our minds in the moment, right, for
Yes.
what might be the requirement. I was talking to someone the other day who entrepreneur and had planned to really kind of go hard on her business in this season, but then she ended up having to scale back because her mother was sick and it was a sudden thing, and so
Okay.
now she becomes a caretaker.
Yes.
And it was kind of like, I want to be present for my mother. So she did enough to stabilize herself
Right.
so she could pay her bills.
Right.
But it was like immediate shift. And I remember with talking with her being so inspired that she was moving with gratitude that I had the ability and the freedom to be like, you know what, this is going to be here. I don't know how long I have my mother, and just made that shift. And it was a flow, stressful, of course, difficult for her,
course.
but her mindset was not one of like, dang, something I'm gonna be here and I know I have to do that, but I'm giving this up. It was like, no, this will be here, and I can shift and I can flow, and that's what I'm picking up when you talk about this
Definitely.
this harmony kind of vantage point.
Exactly.
Ooh, this is good. This is good.
Yes.
Okay, so this is Black Woman Leading.
Of course.
So I want to talk specifically to our audience of Black women, right? So how can we shift? Because we understand conceptually, right, this balance, the shift from balance to harmony.
Yes.
But if we think about Black women who are navigating competing demands at work, at home, community, I think about the church, child. I think about
Listen.
I listen to all these places, right? Is there any particular nuance for our lived experience that you think we should keep top of mind when we are kind of navigating harmony versus balance?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that has served me well as that woman you just described is asking for help. We are terrible
Four-letter word.
at asking for help.
Right.
Because a big part of how we view ourselves as strong Black women means we have to hold everything on our back.
Yeah.
I remember that in business, I was told by my peers who weren't Black that said, "Hey, Sam, you don't have to carry everything on your back and walk uphill with it. It doesn't have to be this hard. And in fact, in the hard, you can enjoy this process. I didn't understand that concept until much later.
Wow.
And unfortunately, it created a lot of suffering that could have been avoidable.
Yeah.
I think the nuance is asking ourselves, who do I want to be in this moment in my life? Because our seasons change, right?
Yeah.
The Sam before babies, before toddlers, before marriage is a very different ambition versus me now.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm thinking more along the lines of where can I find this, the create, not find, because
Yeah.
we can't find the time. We're going to create the time,
Yeah.
right? Where can I create more space in my life to have the things that I do now view as a strong priority to live and thrive? So, for example, today I had to ask for help and ask for my mother to take care of my oldest son so that I could carry my youngest to daycare, so that I could go take a tour of a new school for my oldest because we are moving. And then to be here, ask for my partner to be able to pick up my youngest from daycare. It's maneuvering life differently from a perspective of recognizing that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. And if you have surrounded yourself with exceptionally meaningful community, they want to help you.
Yeah, and we'll offer sometimes,
they
and
will
we're like, "No,
offer.
I got it, I got it."
Yes.
No,
We can let that go.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as it comes to or health. You know, unfortunately, I heard of a story this weekend. A very good friend of mine, their mother got ill. And the reason why she got ill was because she was doing all the titles, all the roles, all the things. She knew she was getting ill.
Wow.
She felt it within her body, but she did not see anything and kept going with her life until she couldn't hide it anymore.
Wow.
By the time she couldn't, it was now time to hit the hospital with a stroke.
Wow.
And her life has never been the same since.
Wow.
Completely different 360, 180. Unfortunately, that impacted the entire family that she was trying to save by not telling them being honest
and
and telling
those
them the real.
secrets, those freaking secrets.
It's the trauma that creates, right? Because now it's perpetual. All of the things that she was trying to avoid,
Here they are.
here they are anyway.
10 times worse.
So much worse, because they would have done everything like they're doing now to support her then.
Wow.
And she could have gotten the help she needed, and she could have avoided so much pain, trauma that she is gone through, and now her family continues to go through as they navigate the best way to love her through this and help her through this, which is knowing the strong Black woman she was and still is in her heart and mind. I'm sure it kills her.
Yeah.
That regret, that guilt, I'm sure it eats
What
her up.
if I only would have, right?
Exactly.
Man, so it's somebody, this is, I'm going to put a pin in this right here because it's somebody listening, and baby, that was your cautionary tale right there.
Right there.
Somebody listening that you feel it in your body, that you're pushing it.
Yes.
And you need to pause, stop, ask for help, all the things.
All the things.
This is your divine moment to take it, sister.
Yep.
Do what you're supposed to do with it.
No, seriously.
This is good. All right, let's get into the topic, actually.
Okay, let's
We've
do
been
it.
talking I could talk all day. We haven't even gotten to the topic yet. Okay, so let's start with the basics on growth mindset, just to level set. So our listeners, we all on the same page.
Okay.
What does a growth mindset actually mean? And also, can you maybe give a context of everyday life, what that might look like, just for our folks that need something tangible to really understand what we're talking about?
It's fair. So the best way to understand a growth mindset is to contrast it a bit.
Okay.
So earlier I mentioned a fixed mindset. What does that look like for a person? It's a person who is so rigid in their thoughts of how life has to unfold that they're so strict about the way that it looks in all parts of their life.
Okay.
We like to use like different personality traits or descriptions and say I'm a type A person or a type B person. Like, so speaking to specifically to those people, they know who they are, right? Now, when you think of a growth mindset, it's one where there is continuous adaptability. There's one that is open to learning, open to feedback, recognizing that growth is in every single step of failure, that it is a part of success to fail.
Yeah.
It is recognizing that you will not be perfect in everything that you do and achieve in this life, because that that doesn't
Yeah.
actually have a space in the world that we live in, right? It's recognizing that you're able to bounce back. You're able to learn from the same thing you failed at 10 times over,
Yeah.
and the 11th time would be the success point. It's recognizing that you can release the guilt and the trauma and continue to strive towards better physical and emotional health while learning along the way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So a growth mindset is really, if I can encapsulate that within a person, it's really a person that's just open to learning and feedback throughout life,
Yeah.
and celebrating along the way.
Yeah, and as you're talking, what I'm hearing is that there is a need for grace and self-compassion too.
Definitely.
Because if you are, like many of us are, right, our harshest critic,
Yes.
then it sometimes does not leave space for this type of adaptability that
Exactly.
you're talking about too.
Exactly.
So that
Yeah.
it's not just kind of how I'm moving in the world, it's also that inner monologue, right? And how I'm talking to myself. And
Most definitely.
I did an episode last season, a solo episode that was talking about kind of recalibrating your self-talk. And I started the episode with like, you've been talking nasty to my friend? Because my friend is you.
Yeah.
And you are the one that's cussing my friend out, right? So what I'm hearing as you're talking about it, that it will require some self-compassion.
Oh, definitely.
Because like you said, if we're going to look at the failures as learning points,
Yes.
then that we have to be saying something different to ourselves about
Most
the failure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So, would you say, because of course, Black Woman Leading, we talk about your heart work, but there's your head work, there's your professional career.
Of course.
Would you say that it shows up differently, this cultivating a growth mindset in our personal life versus work life, or what differences do you see, if any?
You are who you are wherever you are.
Yeah.
And I would say that in different industries, when I've met a lot of my clients, they find themselves in a male-dominated space and sometimes in a white-dominated space.
Yeah.
And they feel like they cannot be their authentic self. When having a growth mindset, it is about being your authentic self in all spaces that you're in. And recognizing it is your strength, not your weakness. One of the things I love to say is that vulnerability is my superpower, because I realize that it is the ability to cut through the exterior of falsehood to recognize that, hey, we are still human, regardless if you're a billionaire versus I'm not. And the billionaire wants to be seen as a human as much as I see them as a human,
Yeah.
and as much as I want to be seen as a human to their core.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Now, do they put that off? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Some of them do. Some of them don't. And that is their struggle. But they truly, at the core, do desire humanity, right? So I think the best thing that a Black woman who is leading in all parts of her life, for her to be able to do that, she needs to be able to have a sense of authenticity, of vulnerability, and definitely emotional intelligence to navigate when and where and who to share different parts of her with. And it doesn't mean that we're being inauthentic by not sharing certain parts in a professional setting that we would then share over drinks with a family member or a friend. It is being able to decipher where your community truly lies in different parts of your life and how to show up in that as your authentic self.
Yeah.
So yes, I guess my answer is yes and no. It is recognizing that you being your authentic self doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be 100%
Give it
you
all, right.
in every single place
That's a good
with every
distinction.
single person. It is being able to just have that discernment
Yeah.
and realize that in this space, how can I show up as Sam in this space as a professional doctor, business owner, corporate coach? What does that look like? That will be different. The way I speak will be different.
Yeah.
But at my core, I am the same. My value systems are the same.
Yeah.
The way that I view myself and view others in with compassion rather, and grace is the same.
Yeah.
The way I speak to you will be the
The
same.
demonstration
The
of
demonstration
it
of it might be different.
Yeah. And I like that distinction because, there's this constant tension with the authenticity. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
people confuse it as I just, lay everything out on the table.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. It's really more so internally. Are you in alignment, like you said, with my values and all of that? All aspects of yourself, some environments don't deserve. So it's not that
Definitely.
because I'm not showing you 100%, I'm not being inauthentic. It's that I'm
Right.
choosing
Yes.
what parts of my real self are appropriate or safe for this environment,
Exactly.
right? And
Yes.
sometimes people get that twisted, like if you're not, Laura at bottomless mimosas with the girls, it's not Laura at the corporate client. It's still
Exactly.
Laura.
Yes.
But it's not the bottomless mimosas, right? So I'm glad that you kind of called that out. Now, when we think about growth mindset, I want to get into this because this is a popular word. We talk about I'm triggered. Triggers.
Oh, my
that
gosh.
triggered me, right? Let's talk about some common triggers because if this growth mindset, emotional intelligence, as you said, self-awareness, self-management, what are some common triggers that can knock us out of a growth mindset into some of these negative thinking patterns? What are you seeing in your work with people as a coach, as a chiropractor?
It varies so much. And so one of the first things that came to mind was the perception of being called out of your name, right? Feeling as if the critic and the critique, their intention isn't pure and loving, which can sometimes be the case, right?
Can sometimes be the
but
case.
feedback being a gift, if we just view it as that first, the intention of the who's giving it to us sometimes doesn't matter as much,
Yeah.
right? So the trigger can be in the ways that I've seen the triggers manifest, let me put it that way. Could definitely be in having the way it's being said. So the tonality, the words, of course, do matter. That can be very triggering. And then the ways that they're being triggered have a lot to do with attacks. They feel attacked in their character.
Yeah.
You always are, and this is in relationships too.
Yeah.
You show up like this. You always do that.
Yeah.
Using certain words that are very complete, definite words tend to be very triggering for people, including myself. I get it.
Yes.
But I'm responsible for my triggers.
Yeah.
The healing around my triggers are my responsibility, not yours.
Yeah.
And so when we start to embrace the reality of that, that's where emotional intelligence comes in.
Yeah.
And it's where we can set healthy boundaries,
Yeah.
right? With others to help them understand this level of communication works. This level of communication does not.
Yeah.
And nor will it be tolerated.
Yeah.
And that can be said with love and also with
A little spice if
okay?
needed.
And with some
You got the
firmness,
wrong one,
okay?
right.
Let's make sure we are on the same
Yes,
page.
yes,
That we
yes.
get to be respectful.
Yeah.
And so I think most people now that in the spaces that I've thrived in recognize that for the majority of the case, it's not necessarily the words that are being said, it's the how it's being said.
Yeah.
That tends to the tone and the disrespect or risk or lack thereof. That's really what's triggering a lot of people
Yeah.
these days more than anything else.
Yeah, and what I like to say, my little saying I like to say when I'm working with my coaching clients and maybe they're telling me of a situation that a conversation that got a little heated, is that a lot of times the things that are triggering you are tapping what I call your little black trauma box.
Right.
So it's something that someone said or something that was inferred from what they said that may not be exactly what they said, but it's familiar.
Yes.
It's familiar to
Yes.
something you have put over here in this little black box, and it's making you feel that way. Right?
Exactly.
And so you're responding to the trauma.
Yes.
Right? Not necessarily. Now, some people can cut up and what they said or how they said it is out of order. But sometimes it's like, no, what they said made you feel familiar to that
Right.
stuff in that little black box.
Right.
And now you're responding to the black box and
Yeah.
not to the situation that's
Yes.
happening. So like you said, that healing piece is your responsibility,
is.
right?
It is.
And I think that's important because if the growth mindset is about learning from failure and adaptability, but we shut down
Yes.
when we're triggered, then we can't access the adaptability.
Exactly.
Right?
What's even worse than that is being able to now, I think a lot of times, to your point of the tapping on that box, the trigger comes into play strongly when we now become a victim instead of recognizing how to be a victor in the story.
Yeah.
Because the feedback is happening for you, not to you.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
means that I get to actually sit with what's said and say, it fits a little bit. Okay, got it. Okay, ways to improve.
Own what
understand.
pieces
I can own
matter.
it.
Yeah.
And then the parts that don't, I can shake it off and move on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, your opinion is valid. I appreciate it, but it is not who I am.
Yeah.
And it does not,
Doesn't
it doesn't
resonate, yeah.
resonate. So I get to let it go.
Yeah.
Right? And so now I recognize it as feedback for me versus feedback against or to me.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
that is a different way of being able to reframe what is going on as a lived experience in all parts of our life,
Yeah.
personal and professional. And I think that will help a lot of us to really be less triggered in a way that is negatively responded to, because
Yeah.
we can't control the triggers all the time that are coming our way, right?
Yeah.
We can't dodge the bullets.
Yeah.
But how do we respond to it versus react to it is a big part of growth mindset.
That's good. And I think part of it, if we think about tapping the black box, is you need to know the black box, right? And that's your therapy
Definitely.
work, that's your spiritual work, that's your
Yes.
reflection
That's a
work.
self-awareness.
Because you need to know the black box to be able to say, "Oh, I feel it coming, I feel it coming, I feel it coming."
Yes, yes.
Let me reframe,
Oh.
let me excuse myself from the situation,
Yes,
or take a
yes.
quick break,
Yes.
or whatever that is. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, this is good. This is good. Do you while we're talking on the triggers, do you have any feedback on how we learn to recognize the triggers in real time? And again, back to your point around acknowledging them but not judging ourselves around it, but saying, okay, this is what's happening here. What insight do you have around how we can recognize those triggers in real time?
Yes. How does your body respond to
Mm.
it? When what is being said, do you find yourself getting agitated, heart racing?
Yes.
You physically feeling heat.
Because you're going into fight or flight.
Going
Yeah.
into fight or flight.
We're not talking about the hot flashes
Right.
from people of a certain season.
Not that one. No, not that. But do we find ourselves, for some, it's their hands. You start fidgeting, fiddling,
Yeah.
doodling, rolling your eyes internally. Right?
Yeah.
There's a reaction that is happening physically with your body.
Yeah.
And for some, it starts to slip into their words or into their
Yeah.
verbiage, right? I get it, lived it, live it, right?
Yes.
And I think of a recent experience where that happened to me, where it started off mild, and then towards the end of this, which maybe took 10 minutes, I found myself reaching for water, trying to
Just
reframe my
anything.
words, start trying to interrupt the conversation and set a boundary. Like, okay, we're starting to venture into spaces that's
Yeah.
not healthy.
Yeah.
And in this moment, I know that I'm entering into this conversation, and because it was brought to me, I didn't bring the conversation to this person. I felt myself rising
Elevated,
and
yeah.
elevating. Not necessarily, and for some it could be tone. You start to realize that your words that you're choosing to say, the way that you're saying them,
Yeah.
that now could elicit more of a reaction, create more of a defense for yourself
Yeah.
in that moment. And so I found myself just retreating. I found myself saying, yeah, nope, I feel all the things, and I've tried 3 times to deflate. It's
Yes.
only going higher. Let me now remove myself.
Yes.
And that's exactly how it ended. I said, I need a moment.
Yeah.
I need a moment. Just give me a moment. Just
Yeah.
stop talking
'Cause you
for
like,
a
'cause
bit.
I'm about to catch a
Give
case
me
in a
moment,
minute.
okay? It wasn't going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And I was like literally saying to myself, you worked too hard these
Exactly.
last 2 years
Exactly.
to be in this professional setting and now respond the way that the other person was. And so I removed myself from it.
Yeah.
Reset myself, and then reestablish the conversation later
That's
when I was in a more even keel space. But then it also it started with my self-awareness.
Yeah.
I had to recognize that if I reacted, it had very little to do with what was being said to me
Yeah.
and what was happening at that moment, and everything to do with where I was energetically in that moment, because
Yeah.
I walked through the door that way. Right? I was in an emotional state, recognizing that it was 20 years since my father passed away, and I knew because this was a Tuesday. This was a couple of days
So
later.
you already was a little sensitive.
I already was
Yeah.
very sensitive to everything else that was happening around me.
Yeah.
So when we get to start in self-awareness, and we do that as a practice on a daily basis of just recognizing, how am I?
Yeah.
How am I doing? What is going on with me today? And recognizing the patterns
Yeah.
and the rhythms of how to shift, of how I do show up, and then creating solutions and how to make that better.
That's
and how
good.
to shift that. Maybe
That's
it's the
good.
environment I'm in or going into that I now need to create a solution around. My friend used to say that he would have door frames. He's like, we walk through doors every day, right? We leave the house, we open the car door,
Yeah.
we open the door to the door to the office. And he said by the time he hit the door to the office, that was his cue that he took one weight off and he put on a different suit and walked through that door. When he was leaving, he picked up the old suit and walked through his home in a different mindset.
Yeah.
So that was his way of being able to create two different spaces and protect the beings inside of it.
That's good.
Right?
That's
And
good.
that was his way of managing it. But yeah.
Yeah, I love this concept though, and thank you for sharing that story.
Yes.
Because what I was hearing from the story is like when you have that self-awareness, then you can give yourself permission to take care of yourself
Yes.
even in the moment.
Yes.
And I'm just thinking of the other day, it wasn't even a conflict. I just noticed that my central nervous system was like on fire. I felt like electric in my
Yeah.
body.
Yes.
And I must have and I'm just doing my work. I think it probably was just overstimulation. But
can
in the
happen.
course of that day, I think I took like 3 little walks around my neighborhood. And my neighbor, who's an older guy, retired, he's out there fiddling in his yard, putting his Christmas stuff. But he saw me maybe like at 10. Then he saw me maybe like at 1. He said, "You really walking today, aren't you?" But I was literally, I told my husband, I said, I'm like buzzing. But it was noticing, like you said, something is happening in my body.
Yes.
Now in hindsight, I'm thinking I probably was overstimulated. I probably needed to shut the day down for the day, but I kept powering through it. But physically, my body was yelling.
Yes.
And to the point where I'm like, I got to get up and move. I got
Right.
to kind of shake something out.
Right.
But it's a self-awareness. So I'm thinking, let's say I was in a conflict, a tense conversation, and my body is giving me those clues, but I'm suppressing. That's how we get to cussing the people out and getting arrested at work.
Listen, okay, making the news, okay.
Because it's fight or flight, right? Your
Yes.
body is like feeling a threat, even though
Definitely.
maybe there's no real threat.
There-
Perceived threat, but maybe no real
exactly.
threat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is good. This is good. So let's talk about when we notice ourselves sometimes slipping into those negative thinking patterns. So we have developed some self-awareness and we realize, okay, I'm still being a hot mess right now, right? I'm still like spiraling.
Yes.
Can you give, when we think about this growth mindset, like some practical strategies to help us flip that mindset in the moment? Is it something that we're saying to ourselves?
Right.
Like, what is it that I am aware I'm going down the dark hole?
Right.
I want to bring it back to growth mindset. I want to bring it back to positivity.
Yes.
What are some things that we can do to kind of flip the script on that?
You know, one of the best things that we can do that is free, breathe. Just take a moment to breathe. And I say we because that was a powerful lesson for me. I didn't realize how reactionary I became. And what shifted that was leveraging the power of breath.
Wow.
And it is highly studied. And you'd think that you just look crazy, just give me 2 minutes, I gotta breathe. It's not like that,
Yeah.
6 seconds, actually.
Wow.
At least 6 seconds is enough
Wow.
from the research that's there. That's all you need to reset and shift. So 6 seconds of breath. Someone asks you a question, you're just like, you could, if you have to count to 6, you can go, okay. But just taking the moment, just like, 1 second.
Yeah.
And you're just like breathing, resetting yourself with breath is a big part to play in that. The second thing is recognizing that you're safe. because a lot of times we react.
Because that's running to the threat. The body thinking we're a threat.
We are fleeing the scene, and that's why we're reacting. So by being able to actually just take that moment to recognize that I'm safe.
Yeah.
This person, especially if you know truly the intention of a human that is in front of you and giving you this feedback or giving you this message, it is not out of hate, it's not out of hurt, it's not out of pain. It's them trying to get across a point to you that matters to them because they care about you.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking about it from that perspective, that this person's intention is pure, they are trying to reach me, and it's supposed to be a chill, easy situation that just now has left the room, I can give that person grace. That they may not have had the tools to recognize how they're entering the room as I had this morning.
Yeah.
They may not have been able at some point in this time, way before this, to be able to have felt it safe enough to give me this feedback until they're blowing up right now.
Yeah.
Right? I can give myself and give them the grace of recognizing that we're all at different parts of our journey.
Yeah.
And what tools you have had to help yourself readapt to your triggers and heal them and manage them differently, they may not have. And so I can view you in a different way. Not a very critical way,
Yeah.
but just recognizing, you know what, in this moment, I'm going to give this person grace and not cuss them out.
Yeah.
And instead, recognize that I can control myself. And if that's the only thing I can control, it also means I can walk away.
Yes.
And I can table this conversation because I was not that girl. I was the person that would write
you gonna
the
hear it.
4-page letter in response to this lettered review that was left in my business, okay?
Yes.
Because everybody has to understand every line, nope, this is why I don't agree with
Yeah,
that, right?
right.
And so unnecessary. So silly. But it was a defense mechanism because I felt, how dare you give me a C when I'm an A student?
Yeah.
What is this about,
Yeah.
right? And so I felt attacked when it was feed forward, not feedback. And I wasn't in a place to hear it.
This is good. Okay, so this is the last thing I'll ask. Then we'll transition to a couple of season theme questions.
Yeah.
So let's say someone's been listening and this growth mindset, recognizing their triggers, being able to interrupt negative thinking patterns. You know, this is really resonating with them and they want to start harmonizing their life. Some of these C's we've talked about today. But it feels overwhelming. It feels like, where do I start?
Yes.
What's one small step they can take today to begin to make that shift into the growth mindset, into more harmony?
So we start the book with an audit.
Okay.
It's a 1-page simple audit where it's measuring on a scale, where do I find myself as it relates to my physical, spiritual, and emotional health.
Okay.
Right? So if you have the book, which you should have the book.
Get the book.
The point is to get the book. It has so many tools, simple ones that you can get started with right away.
Okay.
That don't even involve a professional. Of course, we do recommend mental health therapy,
Indeed.
chiropractic, things of that can help you. But one thing you can do today, if you're hearing my voice, is to just start to recognize ways of gratitude. Just give yourself a simple thing of asking the question, what are 3 things I'm grateful for today? I heard the fact 150,000 people did not make it today, but you're not one of them.
Wow.
And that just has rewired my brain,
Wow.
no matter what I'm going through, to remind myself there is always something I can be grateful for. The gift of breath is something I can be grateful for.
Yeah.
The fact that I can move my limbs, even if it has some aches and pains to it, right, is still something I can be grateful for.
Yeah.
Seeing life from a lens of grace and gratitude is a choice. And you in this moment can make that choice for yourself.
Yeah.
Even against and for yourself, meaning we are our biggest critic, right?
Yeah.
Also recovering from that. We are our biggest critic. And so if we can see ourselves as not broken, there's a reason my book starts off with that verbiage. You are not broken.
Yeah.
So many people come to me, clients that are just feel broken.
Yeah.
You are your best doctor. You know you are not well. Seek the help you
Yes.
need. And that starts with self-awareness and just being able to leverage that is something that is so simple.
Yeah.
Just being grateful for life, breath, and when you start to cultivate that, it will grow for you, and then it will start to attract more to you.
Yeah.
That is a principle that's across all philosophies, all principles on this earth.
Yeah.
Gratitude is powerful in what it can create for you.
That's good. And if you're listening and you feel like you are overwhelmed and you need some
Yes.
additional support, we want to, like you said, encourage you to reach out for help. You know, your
Please.
therapist, your medical doctor, because sometimes biological things are happening
Yes.
that affect here, and it's your
Yes.
body or your hormones or your vitamin D deficiency or
Definitely.
whatever. So get a physical.
Yes.
You know, check it to talk with a therapist, whatever that is, your spiritual practice, right? Whatever that is for you, we want to encourage you to get some help if you feel like you need help beyond what you can do on your own.
I agree.
All right, so I do want to shift. Before I shift, though, any
Yes.
final things you want to say on this topic of cultivating a growth mindset before we shift to our season theme questions?
Sure. The only thing that comes up for me is just being open. Just stay open to growth. You don't have to close it off and just think that it's not for you, because you're a living human, which means that you're always growing.
Yeah.
Your body is changing constantly. Your cells are not the same today as they were yesterday. So your body is ever changing. So is your mind.
Yeah.
It has such tremendous flexibility. So allow yourself that opportunity and not just say, well, I'll always be this person and I'll always be that person. That is one thing I really want to come across.
Yeah.
Is you have that power to change your life. You are powerful.
Yeah.
You can make a difference in your circumstances and situation. If I just said, well, you know what? Life is going to look like this. I'm going to be divorced for the rest of my life. I don't deserve love. I won't attract love. I will never have good things again in my life. The beautiful things that are happening in my now very busy life
Yeah.
would never have happened.
Wow.
And my friend, who I met 3 years ago, says to me just as early as yesterday, he's like, I really want to go back with you and just be a fly on the wall and just see how you manifested all these things. And he has such good memory. So he reminds me, like, remember when you talked about writing this book? You said it this way.
Wow.
Remember when you said that you were going to start dating again and that you wanted the man that you were going to attract and who he was and
Yeah.
who he'll be and all this other stuff. And look at you getting married in a couple of months and I
Wow.
get to be at the wedding to celebrate that.
Wow.
Remember all this? And you know what? I love that he tells me this stuff because I forgot all the things, right?
Look,
but
for your
forgot all
safety.
the things. Seriously. But I share this because we oftentimes, and I hear this from my clients every single day, we feel as if life is stagnant, it's fixed, it cannot improve, and I'll be like this and I'll live like this forever.
Yeah.
You are so wrong in that. You really can have a better life.
Yeah.
You can make a choice for difference in your life.
Yeah.
And that could be as simple as walking around the block 3 times if you have
Listen.
to. Okay? It could be something as simple as drinking more water and seeing the crazy energy that your body is willing to unleash and the health that can come back. It's not the big things that we
Yeah.
always think have to happen in order for my life to be different. It just is a choice
Yeah.
in this moment to probably stop eating their Doritos only. Yes, they're tasty, but they're not meant to be the staple of your diet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We just have to make simple choices. They add up to big things,
Yeah.
and you're worth it.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not
so
broken.
good.
So
You better come on and pass
So
this
put that out
collection
there.
plate now. Okay, this is good. So
Okay.
so our season 8 theme is leaning into joy, and we wanted to amplify this as a conscious, proactive activity, not
Yes.
just something happening to you.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love to ask you is when you think about your leadership journey,
Yes.
you're entrepreneur, you're a doctor, you're doing work in organizations with individuals. What role has joy or even creative fulfillment played in how you lead and make decisions?
it lends to one of the 6 C's,
Okay.
which is to channel positive energy and create meaningful connections. I really wanted to, when I think back about why I started my practice, right? What I envisioned. I saw families healing. I saw my team interacting with them in such a meaningful way to create and leverage that healing.
Yeah.
I didn't see that as just purely me and what I do.
Yeah.
I saw having a whole team
Yeah.
that did that for the community. And I really embraced that. And I kept that vision with me all throughout the things over the last almost 10 years in business. And what I would say in terms of leveraging joy in all of that is a lot of Black women who are leading do not take the moment to actually pat themselves on the back. Results achieved.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the results didn't look the way we thought it
Yeah,
would.
we're crossing off
right?
the list and moving
We just
on to the next
crossing off the
thing.
list and moving on to the next thing. Take a pause. Take
Yeah.
a beat. Just take a moment to celebrate.
Wow.
So creating opportunities for celebration with my team, despite all of our busy lives, is important to me. And so
love it.
being able to do things that are so simple but meaningful. Took them to Top Golf a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And it just allowed us as a team to gel so deeply. And it was just lots of laughter. And it's a staple memory that we're now carrying into the next
Love that.
enjoyable moment to come.
I love that.
But especially as a person who is a leader, I create moments for that joy for myself. I make it non-negotiable to travel with my spouse.
Yeah.
To be. I make it non-negotiable for us to have moments where, hey, no devices are around us in this moment. My
Yeah.
son asked me to sit with him, so I'm going to sit with him and just enjoy that moment with him. So
Yeah.
sometimes the joy isn't always from a place. Creating the joy doesn't have to be this magnificent thing.
Yeah.
It's creating the little tidbits of that throughout your day. For some, it's I'm going to spend a moment reading the Bible while I sip some coffee,
Yeah.
and that's my peaceful moment to myself for me.
Yes.
Right? Others, it's I'm taking it all out on the treadmill.
Yeah.
For others, it is singing their favorite tunes on their way into work. We can create moments of joy always.
Yeah.
It is truly a choice,
Yeah.
right? And so when I'm in my environment, we have to have good music. It's the funny part of it. It's like if we don't have good music, good tunes, I can't adjust well. So the patients aren't going to get what they need.
Right.
Okay. So, and I'm always singing. And so patients are we cultivate this space of just singing and healing and
Yeah, I
laughing
love
with
it.
each other and just getting physically and emotionally well. So by the time we hit the door to head back out into the crazy world, we're a different human.
Recharged
We're
a bit.
recharged,
Yeah.
you know? So joy can show up in all the different things. And one of the things in leading our meetings that we started to employ more is emotional intelligence. So we started to use the different elements of it, such as we use a weather scale. So how are we showing up today?
Yeah.
Are we sunny? Are we stormy? Are we partly cloudy? Where
Right,
are we on
right,
this
right. I
scale,
like
right?
it.
To help communicate in ways with each other so we know how to automatically embrace each other in those moments
Yeah.
without it having to be the full story,
Yeah.
right? And also being able to, again, create an emotionally safe space allows for joy to thrive. Because then I know that I'm walking into a space where, and let's face it, we're at work more hours than not
Yeah.
in our week. So if we're creating a space where we can feel held, where we can hold others, then we're now feeding parts of our lives and our beings as a human that creates joy just because.
That's good.
Right? So it's the space in the community that we create and how we leverage it that creates that joy for us.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
This has been so good talking to
been
you.
great.
Thank you for sharing. How can
Yes.
people connect with you beyond the podcast? And is there anything interesting you have going on that people should know about?
So you can find me at all platforms at Dr. Sam March.
Okay.
So that's the thing. On my website, drsammarch.com, you also can purchase the book directly from there. And of course, it is available on Amazon and
Yeah.
all major platforms. And then in terms of the things that are coming up, we're excited to just have a lot more community-focused workshops in our practice, Lignum Vitae Wellness. We are in Dunwoody, Georgia. And so by being able to connect with us directly, you can be a part of those workshops. You can be a part of our healing community.
Yeah.
And through our Harmonize framework, we are creating more and meaningful retreats and spaces to come. So I
Wonderful.
encourage you through any of those platforms, you can reach out to me and our team will connect you to exactly what it is that you're looking for.
Awesome. And we'll put all of those links in the show notes.
Yes, of course.
All right, so thank you all so much for being with us today. I hope you got something out of this episode. If so, please share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We are available on all podcast platforms. And of course, you can watch the episode on our Black Woman Leading YouTube channel. If you want to connect with us at Black Woman Leading, and woman is singular, you can connect with us at Black Woman Leading on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can also visit our website at blackwomanleading.com to learn about our programs, events, and initiatives. If you want to connect with me personally, I'm Laura E. Knights. You can find me the most on LinkedIn, but also on Instagram. I'm pretty active at Laura E. Knights. And finally, if you'd like to learn about the work we do inside of organizations to help cultivate stronger leaders and teams, check out our corporate website at knightsconsultinggroup.com. We would love to connect with you in any of these ways. And until next time, be well.